I'm going to paint a black poppy, monochrome poppy, with just a single colour, and I'm going to sketch it with this pen, as we've tried to do it with a pencil, but it won't show up on the video. So normally I would paint it with a pencil, but I'm going to show you with the pen so that you can see what I'm doing. So I start off with the bowl of the poppy, which is on its side. I put in the centre, and this is a very rough sketch, and then I sketch the petals just loosely surrounding the poppy, okay, to give me a start so that I can see the shape of it. So that's it sketched, and then I have my two bowls of mediums here. One is the baby oil, which is what I've mixed the paints with, and it's also what I wash my brush in and what I clean my brush in between colours with. But I always make sure I get it out of my brush, and then I dip into the medium and apply medium with the paint when I'm painting. So if I demonstrate it, you'll be able to see what I do. So my brush starts clean. I've cleaned it in this baby oil already, wiping the excess off on the sides of the bowl and cleaning it on my paper towel. I then go into the medium, which is an open medium, which means that it doesn't actually ever dry until it's put in the kiln, wiping the excess off again on the towel, but keeping enough in the brush so that the hairs are beautifully close together. Now the minute that those hairs part is when you must reapply medium, clean it, reapply medium, and apply the paint again. You must have a nice straight brush so that you get a soft look to this paint. So I go into the black paint on the side. I'm right-handed, and I'm pulling the paint down from the right-hand side towards the left. I do that several times and then wiggle until I get it partially through the brush. And when I put it down, I should have a shaded load. Okay? So I start by doing the back petal, the petal furthest away from us, and it's going to be one of these at the back, and I frame up around that centre and filter the colour out towards the edge of the petals, turning the tile as I do. Now, it doesn't matter if you go over the lines. In fact, that's good, because it means that you've got a much looser, impressionistic look to the paint. And when I have put these brush strokes on, which have got light and dark in them, I just very gently soften them across the brush strokes. Okay? Right, so that's one petal, and I don't move the paint any more than that. I want it to look spontaneous and loose. So I'm coming back to the pile of paint, pulling it down once again, working the colour in several times until I get a shaded load. And then I paint the next petal, going up to the edge where the shade would be, framing that centre again, and filtering the colour out over the penciled edge, and then soften. Okay, that looks good. I then do the same again. For each petal I reload the brush, pull the colour down, reload the brush, excuse me, and I'm working around the flower, around the bowl. The next petal, irregular shapes, an irregular edge to the petal, not nice and smooth. Gently go across the brush strokes and soften. Turn the tile around so that you pull the paint towards you when you paint. Load the brush again. And this is the last outside petal of the poppy. And I'm slightly going to frame the bowl, but not in a continuous line. Short brush strokes to break them up around that edge. Irregularly out again. And soften. Now it's very good to have these light and dark areas in this petal. You do not want a solid black because it would look very heavy. So that's the filtered brush strokes, softened, and the last petal to do is the bowl, which is side on to you, so the shade of this petal will come around that edge of the bowl, again not one continuous line. And then just gently filter the brush strokes up towards the centre of the poppy. So although this is all black, you have got some light and shade in that poppy. Now the very important thing is contrast when it's just one colour. You've got to have contrast between light and dark, otherwise it's going to look very heavy. The last thing I'm going to do is paint the centre. Now the centre has to have quite strong light towards one side, so don't fill it. So I just partially fill it, wipe the excess paint, clean my brush and finish it with just the rest that's on the brush. Okay. Now I'm going to take some light out of everything, the petals, the bowl and the centre. So I just give myself a little light centre to that centre of the poppy, and then I'm going to make sure my brush is clean in the baby oil, wipe off the excess, clean it out. And because black's a heavy colour, you have to have a few goes at it. And then apply the medium, the open medium, ready to actually pull out my petals. I use the square end of a large wad in order to sketch my petals back onto the poppy. Again, starting with the back petals, I just very loosely sketch the petal. Again, not staying in the lines of what I've painted, just very loose in and out of the whole of the filtered area. And then I place behind the wipeout line, press and pull. Behind the wipeout line, press and pull towards the centre. But don't go too far as you'll mess your centre. Behind the wipeout line, press and pull. And then I'm going to do one little one to finish. Then there's just a little wipeout line there, okay? Now the next one, again, sketch that petal around the poppy, make it slightly bigger there. With the square end again of the wipeout tool, press and pull behind the wipeout line. Press and pull behind the wipeout line, pulling that paint gently towards the centre, which actually gives you some nice light and shade folds. Press and pull. Press and pull. Just turning the tile as you go. Now when you come to one that's at an angle to the poppy, you put your brush parallel to the wipeout line and curl it towards the calyx. The calyx is the middle of the poppy where all the petals join, and it's also where they're all held together, and they grow from that, so all of your brush strokes have to go towards that. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. I'm just going to pull this light one slightly over the top. Press and pull, press and pull. Okay, now we're going to do one wrapping its way around this one. So just a big sketchy line, finishing coming towards the calyx. Press and pull, press and pull, curling towards the calyx every time and wiping off each time. Press and pull, turning the tile as I go. Okay, now the last outside petal wraps itself around those two each side. Press and pull. Keep pressing and pulling and wiping. And that's the outside petals of the poppy. Now the last one is the bowl, and you don't put a wipe out line on the base of the bowl because it's a soft fold. It would be too hard, so you just do a wipe out line at the top of the petal and finish off the corners. And again, clean your brush, press and pull. Again, angling towards the calyx. Press and pull. Press and pull. Just shaping that last one. Now we're going to take some light out of the centre, and we kind of gave us a guideline to where we were going, so now we have to take some light out to give it contrast, and then just put that edge of that bowl back. Okay, now we've got a little centre button that goes in the middle of the centre there. And then I put on some black with a pointer. This is a very small pointer. And I'm filling it in just the same way that I fill my paint on my square shader to the side. Turning it round, making sure I've got a good strong application. And I'm just going to put a very impressionistic centre to the poppy and give it a few little centre stamens, which is what you see on a lifelike poppy. So fill the brush again, and I'm going to do the stamens. Using the tip of the brush, I dot right around that centre, making it quite dense, because we're going to wipe some stamens out in a while when we finish this. And remember, this is one fire, so if you were painting this normally, you'd have a chance on a second fire to strengthen your dark and light contrasts around your petals and on your poppy. So now I wipe out some stamens. I've put them on with black, and now I'm going to wipe them out. And you don't actually wipe out every single stamen you've put in. You wipe some out into the background of the flower and some into the black you've applied around the centre. Keep turning the tile as you go. And the last thing I do is I pull some stamens and you'll see those mostly on the light side. Don't make it look like a halo. You just want a suggestion on the dark side. And then I make sure that each one of those has a little button on it. And that's just the first fire of the poppy. And I would fire that and then put in a bit of contrast. I do put some background in, just so that I can frame it. So I come in around the petals and filter that colour slightly out. Need a bit more medium on that brush. Load it, side load, shaded load. If your brush strokes start to look ragged, as mine did, that does mean that you need to recondition, wash and recondition your brush, because it's thirsty. So I've just irregularly put some filtered brush strokes, framing the poppy first and going out into the background. And then I come and do it on the opposite side, so I get some contrast on both sides. Just using the whole of the brush to softly filter those brush strokes out. You can curl them round a bit if you want to make them look a little bit more interesting. And if I do it in one area, because this is almost like flower arranging, I do it in 3. So I've got 2 opposite each other, and to counterbalance those, I put just a small area framing the petals up in this corner. Okay, soften. Just soften all, make sure everything's soft. And just to finish it off, as I did in this one, you can just do some impressionistic type veins and create yourself, just with the square end of the wand, some little irregular edges, and make it a leaf. And the same with this one. I mean, obviously, if we have more time, you can also do a bud, which I'll just do very quickly, pulling the stem around. And quite thick poppy stems, because they're quite heavy flowers, so don't make it too thin. Use your square shader and create your bud. And make sure it's the right balance for the size of poppy. Okay, and the last step is to give it some hairs. I mean, obviously, if you're doing another fire on this poppy, you can add bits to it. So you've got a chance to add more light and shade on another fire. But this is just for demonstration purposes, a very quick version on the hoof, as it were. And then when you do the hairs on the bud, make sure they curve with the bud. They don't all come out static and in a line. This all helps to make it look natural. And there's a one fire monochrome black poppy.